Hi Year 8, this video is all about how to sew on buttons, and it goes with this page here in your skills booklet. First you need to grab a piece of fabric and you'll be sewing on two different buttons. So I've just made two small marks on my fabric where I want them to be attached. I've also then collected two different kinds of buttons. Firstly, this usual kind of looking one that's got two holes. I'm going to attach that. And then a different kind of button which has got a flat front, but then we can see on the back has got a little loop, and that's how we're going to attach it. The reason we do two different ones is because there's a different way of attaching them. As always, we need scissors and we need some thread. So I'm going to thread up my needle. One thing to check with buttons is that your needle is actually going to fit through the hole, the small hole in your button. Okay, if your needle is too large and won't go through, it's not going to be any good. So starting with an arm's length of thread like I usually do, threading through the needle, doubling the thread over so that the ends meet, and tying a small knot. Now, we don't want to be able to see any of our sewing, we just want to see a nice and neatly attached button. So for that reason, we're going to start underneath this time. So wherever that dot is, I'm going to find, we'll use my finger to indicate on the other side. And we first need to secure our thread because unlike tacking, we actually want this to stay in, whereas tacking was temporary, so it was going to come out eventually. So this one we need to secure by doing a knot first. And the way we do that is putting the needle in and out really close. And in and out again. So 1, 2, so in and out twice. And see how we now have a loop forming and through the loop. So I like to call it 1, 2 through the loop because you go in and out once, in and out twice, and then through the loop to tie a knot. Okay, we're now ready to come up onto our good side. So we did that underneath. Now we come up to where the dot is on the good side. We're ready to attach our first button. So it's got two holes, so just choose one of them to start with. And you come up through that hole. And I'm going to go back down through the other hole. Show you that there. So my needle comes back through. Now I'm going to come up through that same hole again, the first hole, and that's the tricky bit because you can't see where you're poking the needle all the time, so you just need to get a bit of a feel for it, but just be careful not to prick your own finger. So up through that hole, pull it tight, down through the other hole. And you'll see that it's starting to create some thread in pink just between the two holes there. So I want to do that about 8 times, all right? 8 times means that it's going to be nice and secure. Because buttons do get a bit of pressure, let's say if we had a button on our shirt, it does get pulled a little bit when we wear it, so it needs to be nice and secure. So I'm just going to keep going a few more times until I get to 8. Okay. Oops. So what you'll notice at this point is that the button is getting to feel nice and secure, and that's exactly what we want. So once it's secure around here, I now just need to secure my knot at the end. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did at the start, 1, 2 through the loop. All right, so in and out, very close together is 1. Then I'm going to go again, 2, and this time through the loop. And I've now got a nice knot. So I now want to trim that off fairly close, about 1/2 centimetre away. So all we can see from the underside is a little bit of stitching all in one spot. And from the good side, we can just see a button that is nice and neatly sewn on. Now, if you've chosen a button that has 4 holes, you do this the same way, except you go from one hole to the other and then do the other 2 holes after. So you do 2 holes 8 times, then the other 2 holes. It's up to you if you want to cross over, the holes that you sew. And so you go from this hole to this hole, this one to this one, to make an X in your stitching. Or if you want to do the 2 holes that are next to one another so that it makes 2 lines of stitching. There's no right or wrong, up to you. So I'm now going to show you how to do a loopy button. Very, very similar, right? You just have to make sure that you pull it nice and tight. So again, I'm going to secure my stitch underneath, so I need to tie a knot in my stitch and my thread and find the underside of my dot, and 1, 2, through the loop. So I've got a knot. Now I come up to my good side and I'm going to go through the loop in the button. I've just gone through that once, and now I'm going to go back down again close to where I started, and this time when I pull it, it should pull the button into place. Okay, so if I pull it tight, now pulls the button into place. So I just need to go around this one 8 times again, right, in and through through the loop and back to the underside again. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 8 lots through the loop. So I can now see that my button is nice and secure, right, and it's not going to come off even if I wiggle it. This one has got a little bit more movement simply because it does have that loop on it, but it's definitely not going to fall off. So what's my last step? I just need to secure on the underside, that 1, 2 through the loop to tie a knot, and then I will be finished. So 1, 2, through the loop, pull it tight, trim. And there's my 2 buttons done.